Hello everyone, welcome to Learning Now Simple, and today we will be revisiting the Mughal Empire, and let me introduce you to the third module where we'll be learning about the third Mughal emperor, Emperor Akbar. So before we proceed to the main content, let's have a few points about him, few quick points that you really must know before you proceed to the main content, because this is the background information, but still it has to be there with you. So firstly, Akbar was born in 1542 when Humayun was in exile. If you check out the previous video, which is a video about Humayun, which you definitely should not miss out on. And if you haven't seen that video yet, please do check it out before you visit this video so it is easier to understand. So in that video, you will be knowing that there was this 15-year gap in between where Humayun had gone for an exile after he was defeated by Sher Shah Sur and had lost all his authority. And during this time was when Akbar was born. He was only 13 years old when he ascended the throne. I'm sure most of my viewers itself will be nearing 13. And when he was 13, he was made the king. So such a big responsibility was given on his shoulders at this time. Right now we are learning about him. Isn't that surprising? Okay. He was credited with the introduction of Deen-e-Ilahi. Deen-e-Ilahi is a religion which was introduced by Akbar. We'll be learning more about it later in this video, so do keep watching. Developing relations, flourishing territory. By this, we are trying to say on how well, we are trying to talk about how well the territory under Akbar flourished and how healthy the empire was. As in, when Akbar is very well known for how well he developed relations with a lot of kinds of people, most popularly the Rajputs, and even establishing the trust of his subjects, that is within his territory itself, and increasing the extent, the political extent of his territory by using various measures. He strengthened the administration during his time. He introduced the Mansabdari system, which we will not be looking into right now. That will be coming later in another module. And do make sure that you check that video out as well. So, this is for your knowledge just right now, the Mansabdari system, where it was, where he wanted to ensure that all the people who work for him were loyal to him. So that is why their duties were divided. They were divided as per their duties, as per their work in the empire, and were given salaries also accordingly. And the salary they were given were a little different, and it was hereditary. We'll be looking more into that later. He ruled for nearly 50 years, that is from 1556 to 1605. Now let us start. When Humayun died, Akbar was only 13. The empire was not very strong and its administration was also frail. Young Akbar was made the king with Behram Khan as his regent. Akbar was the king who strengthened the administration by clearing internal and external obstacles one at a time. He proved to be very competitive and the empire flourished greatly under his rule. Now, for those of you watching this video who don't know the meaning of regent, a regent is a person who rules over a kingdom when the actual ruler is not fit for ruling yet, mainly because he is not old enough. So, in this case, we know that Akbar was just 13 and he did not know much about all this, about how to rule an empire, what must you keep in mind, and the uh, the affairs of the state. He was too young for that. He was too young to take decisions on his own. So, to guide him, Behram Khan was kept as his regent. That is the person who will be helping him and guiding him. His role is only to help and guide. The actual power rested with Akbar himself. So, immediately when Akbar ascended the throne, there itself a hurdle was posed in front of him. Let us know more about it. In the first video, we learned about Babur and what was the main event in his lifetime which helped him to establish the Mughal Empire. It was the first battle of Panipat. And what you see on the screen here, you see the second battle of Panipat. So let's know more about this. Behram Khan became powerful as a regent of Akbar. One of his achievements was the defeat of Hemu, the Hindu wazir of the Sur dynasty. Um, of so one of his achievements was the defeat of Hemu and the Afghan forces, the combined Afghan forces. Humayun had barely established his authority when he died in 1556, and within a few months itself, the governors lost several important places, including Delhi itself, to Hemu. Hemu immediately came and named himself as the emperor and claimed the throne for himself. But on November 5, 1556, very important date, do make sure that you remember this date, it's very important. November 5, 1556. The Mughal force defeated Hemu at the Second Battle of Panipat near present-day Panipat. It is called as Panipat again. This was also referred to in the. This was also told to you in the first video. Why is it called the Battle of Panipat? Because the place where it was fought was called Panipat. Panipat, that is in present-day Haryana, and commanded the route to Delhi, thus ensuring Akbar's succession. So this was it came as a threat, and Hemu was very very powerful. For a certain time, Hemu had succeeded in capturing the throne. He was the master of Central India for a short period of time, but not for long. The Mughals waged a war against him, stood up, and eventually it is said that Behram Khan was the person who executed him. And this, the victory in the Second Battle of Panipat, is one of his major achievements. And you must also keep in mind that during this time, Akbar is still just 13, okay? Okay, so that was long behind. Then Akbar started realizing that as a ruler and as an administrator, he has to not only work for the welfare of his subjects, but also extend his empire. That was the main goal of any sort of dynasty during that time. So he used various expansionist policies which are very popular. Under Akbar, the Mughal Empire came to include a variety of territories. It was not just the territories which Humayun lost, a lot more territories. Methods of conquest, Akbar sought to resolving internal and external weaknesses and consolidated his territories. So what he did, so when we say expanding your territory, you actually visualize an image where the person is just trying to gain more and more territory outside his own and making it a part of his territory. But it doesn't just lie there. One of the major reasons for Humayun's defeat against Sheshasur was that he was not internally strong, and Akbar was very clever. He knew that, and he knew that before he starts proceeding outside and starts looking into the outside world, he has to fix things within his territory itself. He needs to gain the trust of his subjects, make sure his ministers are loyal to him. The people who work for him should be loyal to the subjects, loyal to the empire as a whole. And he had to eliminate all the internal barriers before he went onwards to extending his territory. So, what was the extent of his empire? That is, from where to where did it reach? Now, when I say the extent of India, I say in the north from the Himalayas to the south in Kanyakumari, which is the lowest point, and in east to west. That is how I give all four uh, points. And that is how I explain the extent of the territory. And that's exactly what you have to do while mentioning the extent of the Mughal territory during Akbar's rule. So Akbar's territory is extended from the Himalayas in the north to the Godavari in the south, the river Godavari, the Hindu Kush mountains in the northwest, to the Brahmaputra in the east. Brahmaputra again is a river, which is still there, still called by the same name. So let's go through that again. Himalayas in the north. That is clear. Just keep that in mind. Himalayas in the north. To Godavari in the south. Okay, if this is Himalaya here, right here, let me show you clearly. So This is Himalayas. We have the mountains in the north, all the way to the river Godavari in the south. Okay, now east and west. The Hindu Kush mountains, again mountains. Here also you're referring to mountains. Here also you're referring to mountains. Okay, so the Hindu Kush mountains in the northwest. Okay, so if this is the the west, then where would northwest come? Northwest would come here. So the Hindu Kush mountains. It is kind of easy to interpret, right? If it is right here, it won't exactly be right here. Okay, it will be somewhere close. The ranges will be close by. So in the northwest, we have the Hindu Kush mountains. Till there, the territory reached. Okay, and in the east, here where the Seven Sisters lie today, Akbar's territory reached till the Brahmaputra river. Okay, so you can use some sort of tricks to remember. Always try to refer a map when you are trying to locate the extent of a territory, because it helps you visualize it later on. Try to learn it that way so that later on when you want to remember it, just remember how would the map look. Okay, now some key points. Okay, at first Akbar took steps to end the conflict within the nobility. He suppressed the revolt of his half brother Mirza Hakim, the governor of Kabul, and the Uzbeks, who were unhappy with Akbar's growing stature. Then Akbar embarked on an expansionist policy. He entered into conflicts with different powers like Rajputs in Rajputana, Afghans in Gujarat, Bihar, Bengal, and the Deccan kingdoms like Bijapur, Golconda, and Ahmednagar. He started from Malwa. The Malwa region was where he started from. Now, these are a few points on his expansion, on how he proceeded with expanding his territories. It might be mentioned differently in the source that you are referring to. So, this is just an overview. There'll be another video on a little more in detailed points. You have to refer it based on what is given in the source that you are studying from the material that you're studying from. Okay, it is better to make a timeline for these sort of stuff. Use a timeline and a map together while studying the expansion. Okay, so just a few points. You need not by heart this. Just try to remember it as a route. As in, if this is a map like this, starting from here, he went from here, he went to here. Just try to visualize it and make it. You have to use your own creativity and your own methods, and please do not try to mug it up. Okay. Between 1570 and 1585, Akbar managed to capture the areas of Gujarat, Bihar, and Bengal and reduce the power of the Afghans. Between 1585 and 1591, Akbar also established his control over Kabul, Kandahar, Kashmir, and Sindh. After 1590, Akbar undertook a planned Deccan policy to bring these states under Mughal control. Gradually, Mughal territories in the Deccan came to include Ahmednagar, Berar, and Khandesh. This was later on, a lot later, in the later part of his rule. Okay, building relation with the Rajputs. So this was one of the points that we saw in this slide, and when we referred to the background image, we knew, I mentioned this point before, that he was known for developing relations with different kinds of people, especially the Rajputs. Okay, so let us go back to that slide. Okay, so when Akbar started expanding his territory, he knew that in order to have a strong territory, a strong empire, and a vast empire, he must have control over the Rajputs. Now, the Rajputs are very, 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 very powerful, and it might lead to a lot of loss of land and soldiers in just fighting for the area. So instead of that, he tried to negotiate with them and used various methods so that he can win over them and include their territory as a part of his kingdom. Akbar tried to win over the Rajputs wherever possible and inducted Rajput kings into Mughal service. He gave high posts to the Hindus and Rajputs in the military services and administrative services. One example is Raja Man Singh, a trusted general of Akbar. Okay, now these are some of the points that you can keep in mind. Try to think it of as a story and try to take down these points. Just say, if suppose if there are 5 points, think that I need to remember 5 points and try to take it in that way so that you don't miss out on any point. Okay. He abolished the jizya to respect the other religions. Okay. Jizya was a tax that was imposed on all non-Muslim subjects. It was kind of it was imposed on the non-Muslims so that they would learn to respect the religion. And another thing was also uh, they would also be compelled to convert to the religion. That was the basic need for it, and it was also a sort of income to the empire. So what he did, he abolished the jizya. Akbar abolished jizya tax so that he lets other people also know that we are all equal. Okay, as subjects of this empire, we are all equal here, not divided by religion. He paid annual tributes to the people to the Rajput kings from whom he attained the territory. He allowed the Rajputs to sustain their territory but accept the Mughal sovereignty. He gave high positions to Rajputs in military and administration, such as Raja Todarmal, Raja Mansingh, and Raja Birbal. Birbal, I'm pretty sure you all will be aware of. Okay. Now, this point, let me just emphasize a little more on this point. He allowed the Rajputs to sustain their territory. So he knew that he cannot go on fighting with all the Rajputs because there are a lot of Rajputs in India, and he could not go on fighting with all of them because they were extremely powerful. Uh, so what he decided, he told them that you can maintain your territory, you can rule over your territory, but the Mughals will be the final head, as in you still the king. Suppose King A is the ruler of a certain territory. So Akbar tells King A that you can rule over your land, but you will not be the ultimate head. The ultimate head will be Akbar himself. So, and if you refuse to take it in that way, then you will have to face battle. And by this time, most of the kings already knew how powerful Akbar was, which is why most of them easily gave in. Okay. Then another method which he adopted was marrying Rajput princesses. So he formed an alliance with the Rajputs by marrying the princesses. So one example is Jodhabai, also known as Harkabai, daughter of Raja Bharmal. The marriage strengthened the alliance. He was able to get the strong support of Raja Bharmal. Policy of non-intervention. He did not interfere in the internal matters of the state. That was one very good point, that good thing that he did, that he gave them he maintained the suzerainty, but then the thing is that he did not completely show his authority. He made them feel that yes, they still have their authority. He let them retain their authority, just that the absolute power would be in his hands, but that didn't mean that the Rajput totally lost his power. So to show that he was being true to his word, he did not interfere in the internal matters of the state. He just treated them as if they were just friendly neighbors or something like that. There was no sort of leader and follower sort of relationship between them. Battle of Haldighati. Another important point that you must remember. Of all the battles fought, this was one of the most important ones. Of course, including the second battle of Panipat also. The Battle of Haldighati is also one that is to be very well remembered. The only Rajput king who stood against Akbar was Rana Pratap, Maharana Pratap, as he's commonly known, the ruler of Mewar, and his son Amar Singh, Rana Amar Singh. The famous Battle of Haldighati was fought between the Mughals and Rana Pratap in 1576 near Gogundu, Haldighati. The Mughal army was led by Man Singh of Amber. Rana Pratap Singh, despite all the efforts by Akbar, did not submit, and eventually it led to the victory of Maharana Pratap himself. But he did not live long enough to enjoy the victory, actually. So, Battle of Haldighati, Maharana Pratap was very valiant. He fought very bravely for his territory. He did not bend before Akbar, and he made sure that his empire was free. And let me tell you, Maharana Pratap was, Maharana Pratap was the grandson of Rana Sanga. Now it is your task to find out who is Rana Sanga. If not, go and check the video on Akbar and it will quickly flash in your mind. The Mansabdari system, as I had already told you, uh, it was an administrative policy or an administrative system that was introduced by Akbar, which was very efficient. It was used for a long period of time. I guess it was removed only a lot later. So a lot later, as in when the empire was declining, only it started turning corrupt. Otherwise, till then it was running very smoothly. So it started breaking apart only during the rule of the later Mughals. So we'll be looking more into how the Mansabdari system worked later on. Religious policies of Akbar. So three important points that you have to remember, just three important points because it's just a basic overview. He accepted Sulh-e-Kul, which means universal peace or peace with all. He abolished the jizya, a point that is reiterated, and gave high positions to people of different religions. So first point is Sulh-e-Kul or universal peace, peace with all. He built the Ibadat Khana, a spiritual place in 1575 at Fatehpur Sikri where he conducted debates. He built the Ibadat Khana, a spiritual place in 1575 at Fatehpur Sikri, where he conducted debates. So this was a place he built in 1575, where basically his main motive was to conduct different debates and discussions. He called people belonging to different religions like Islam, Hinduism, Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and he discussed with them, and even atheists, that is, people who were not afflicted with any religion. So he called them, and the basic motive was to emphasize on again Sulhikul, that is universal peace, and to come to know that that basically all religions give the same teaching. That was his main motive of starting the initiative in the Ibadat Khana. He introduced a new religion called Deen Ilahi, a point that I had mentioned in the beginning of this video, which included various beliefs and practices from different religions intended for making peace. So he assembled people belonging to different religions in Ibadat Khana. He came to know a lot about different religions, their features, and as I had mentioned before, the basic motive was to emphasize on the fact that all religions give the same teaching and it's basically meant for good. No religion gives any teaching of evil. And so, what he decided, he took some good features from all the religions and combined into one new religion, which he introduced called Deen Ilahi. It included various beliefs and practices from different religions, and it was mainly made for helping all his subjects to enjoy and live as one single unit and not divided by the barriers of religion, not divided by their religious faiths. But then the problem was that it was not accepted, and many people did not agree with it. So eventually, it did not work very well. Only very few people, including Birbal, accepted it, and most of the people rejected it. But then the good thing was that he was not bent upon his subjects. That he was not bent on the thing that everyone has to accept it. No, it was not like that. They were given their freedom whether they wanted to follow these ideals or not. So now, when we talk about Akbar, we know a lot of things about Akbar, but where do we get this information from? How do we know about him? The main sources of information about Akbar are the N.A. Akbari and the Akbarnama, authored by Abul Fazil ibn Mubarak, one of the nine jewels or Navratnas of Akbar's court. He had these nine jewels called Navratnas, which included Birbal and Tansen. So you can research more on that if you are interested. So now, what did these books, that is the N.A. Akbari and Akbarnama, tell us? The first volume of the Akbarnama dealt with Akbar's ancestors, and the second volume recorded the events of Akbar's reign. So, the first one was about ancestors, about Babur, Humayun, and also about his lineage, about how his to the lineage to which his family was inclined to from, that is his relationship with previous dynasties. Okay, and with the Timurid dynasty, with the dynasty of Genghis Khan, and the second volume was about Akbar's reign. It also included facts about how the administration system was under him, etc. Its concluding portion consists of an account of Akbar's administration, agrarian system, and the empire, and it is known as N.A. Akbari. So the last portion is basically about his empire, that is about his administration, about the Mansabdari system, agrarian system, as in the policy of land revenue, and basic information about the empire and how it how it had run under him. It also provides rich statistical details of crops, yields, prices, wages, and revenues. So it is very well defined and contains very detailed information about Akbar, which helps us know a lot of things about this very famous emperor today. So these are a few monuments built by him. This is Akbar's tomb, the Agra fort, Buland Darwaza, Maryam Uzzamani's palace, Allahabad force, Diwane Khas. There was Diwane Am and Diwane Khas, Panch Mahal, Lahore fort. So let's come to a conclude with the final point, that is Akbar died on October 27, 1605. We came to know that his period of reign came to end in 1605, so you can connect it that way. 1605 was when he breathed his last. And he was succeeded by his son, the fourth Mughal emperor, Emperor Jahangir, who succeeded him in 1605. So before we come to a close, shouldn't we just go through all of it again? I know it's a lot to absorb all at once, but we can't just talk so quickly, right? So let's just have a brief go through. Born in 1542 when Humayun was in exile, only 13, okay, had a rule for nearly 50 years, was born when when Humayun was at exile. And who was his regent? His regent was Behram Khan. Okay. What was the first hurdle he faced? It was the Second Battle of Panipat. And who helped him? Who was mainly credited with the victory of the war? It was Behram Khan. Now, who is it who battled against him in the Second Battle of Panipat? It was Hemu, okay, a Hindu minister who was a Hindu wazir of the Sur dynasty. Okay, when I ask you these questions, try to mentally form the answers, try to recollect. And the main question, when did the Second Battle of Panipat take place? November 5, 1556. 1556, he ascends the throne, and how old was he? He's 13 years old. Okay. November 5, 1556, the Mughal force defeated Hemu at the Second Battle of Panipat. He used various methods of conquest to consolidate his territories, firstly by eliminating internal borders, then proceeding outwards. His territory extended from the Himalayas in the north to the Godavari in the south, the Hindu Kush mountains in the northwest to the Brahmaputra in the east. Okay, Himalayas in the north, Godavari in the south, Hindu Kush in the northwest, and Brahmaputra in the east. Okay. So basically, first he suppressed the revolt of his half brother Mirza Hakim, who was the governor of Kabul, and then he embarked on an expansionist policy which helped him capture various territories like Bihar, Bengal, and Deccan kingdoms like Bijapur, Golconda, Ahmednagar, then Gujarat, etc. Now, these points may vary according to the source you're referring to, but the basic will still remain the same. 1750 to 1570 to 1585. It was mainly Gujarat, Bihar, and Bengal. 1585 to 1591, it was basically Kabul, Kandahar, Kashmir, and Sindh. 1590 onwards, it was an embark towards the Deccan, where he included places like Ahmednagar, Berar, and Khandesh. Relationship with the Rajputs. He abolished the jizya, paid annual tributes. He allowed them to maintain their power, but had to eventually accept the rule of the had to accept the Mughals as their heads. These points you have to just keep in your mind and describe in your own words. He gave high positions to Rajputs in military and administration, such as Raja Todarmal, Raja Mansingh, and Raja Birbal. Married the Rajput princesses. One example is Jodhabai, who is also the mother of Jahangir. Okay. He did not interfere in internal matters. Okay, so that's 6 points there. Battle of Haldighati. Okay, it was between Maharana Pratap and Akbar, Emperor Akbar, and it was fought in 1576. Mansabdari system was an administrative system that was introduced by Emperor Akbar. First, 3 important facts about his religious policies. First is Sulhi-Kul, which is universal peace. For that, he abolished the jizya and inducted a lot of people belonging to different religions into his army and administration. He built the Ibadat Khana in 1575 at Fatehpur Sikri, okay, where he conducted debates after calling a lot of people. And he introduced the religion Deen-e-Ilahi, which included some major points from all different religions, okay, intended for making peace. 3 points: Sulh-e-Kul, Ibadat Khana, and Deen-e-Ilahi. Main sources of information are Akbarnama and Ain-e-Akbari. These are some of the monuments built by him. Just try to remember a few of them. No need to learn all of them. Just try to remember by the image. Akbar died on October 27, 1605, and was succeeded by his son Jahangir. So that's all for today, everyone. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you learned a lot about the third Mughal Emperor Akbar in this video. Do keep checking out my videos, and do check out the previous videos as well as the forthcoming videos to gain a better insight. Do keep revisiting these topics so that you do not forget the points or miss out on any essentials. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, and keep watching Learning Now Simple. Thank you so much.